Oh, I'm excited for this one. We finally finna do the big one. The one people have been asking about practically all year. I'm finally hitting it before the year's over. You're welcome. This is like an early Christmas gift. Don't say I never did nothing nice for you. Today, we are talking about what it truly means to be the strongest. And to start that conversation off, we talk about our protagonist, Kenichi, who might be the only shonen protagonist who starts his story off with the physical capabilities of a newborn baby. But thankfully, here's the twist. And the thing nobody tells you up front about this series, History's Strongest Disciple isn't actually about becoming strong. Yeah, I mean, hold up. I hear you. I see the pitchforks in the comments. I don't want to lie to you in the first few minutes of the video. Let me rephrase that real fast. It's not only about becoming strong, but if you want the other part of that, just wait and see. You see, that's what you call bait. That makes you want to watch the entire video. I'm learning YouTube, guys. I'm learning it. So by the time we circle back to it by the end of this video, you'll understand where I'm coming from when I talk about the other thing that defines this series. But first, let's talk about the kid who gets folded by gravity on a regular basis. Our main character, our lovable idiot, our baby boy, Kenichi, who at first is a shy, bullied freshman whose main hobbies are getting picked on and reading books. But then he meets Miyu, the new transfer student who just happens to be a martial arts master and is conveniently in his class, and he conveniently meets on her first day. Also, she has daddy issues. Why is that important? You know what? I feel like I had to bring it up at some point, so here it is. She sorta has daddy issues. But that's not the point, because these two meeting would change his life forever. Not because she gives him some kind of magical power or a cheat skill, but because she shows him what he could really become at her dojo at the Roizan Park. A dojo that looks normal on the outside, but is 1000% an OSHA violation on the inside. And this is where our main character meets the 6 masters. And what they teach him becomes the foundation of what his change is built upon. They teach him jujitsu, Chinese Kempo, karate, Muay Thai, weapons, and yes, for the sake of argument, we're gonna call weapon martial arts. Don't think about it too hard, just, accept it. And obviously, we can't leave out Grandpa Hayato, but at the same time, I don't know what that man is, and he scares me, because he's in the wrong series. He should be in Fist of the North Star, Baki, but he's here, torturing a teenager, but, whatever. And you would think because he's learning all these martial art techniques and whatever the grandpa's teaching him, he would be some kind of prodigy or some super secret student, but he's not. Kenichi isn't gifted, he isn't talented, he isn't even chosen by destiny or something like that. He even doesn't have some super secret relationship to some kung fu master. He's just a regular kid. But despite not having the shonen protagonist buffs, not only does he survive at this dojo, he thrives. And the secret to that is, he does it the best way and the only way he can, by becoming the hardest working punching bag in all of Japan. Well, at least until he can stop being a punching bag. And then he just becomes the hardest working in Japan. Because that's where our real story starts. Because every time Kenichi grows, something uglier and stronger shows up to test him. Be it Ragnarok, Yami, or some weird martial arts civil war he became a part of without knowing he became a part of it and now is in the middle of it. That also scales so big that it threatens global chaos. And still, somehow, some way, we don't understand why, Kenichi refuses to quit. And even better yet, he responds to this crazy situation the way only History's Strongest Disciple can, with his fist. And is that not mad cool, man? It's blowing my brain, bro. It's so cool. And it's with that kind of mentality, that kind of effort that makes his journey, and I don't regret what I'm about to say, hit different. So by the end of this video, I hope you'll see exactly why Kenichi's whole journey exposes the uncomfortable truth about self-improvement, discipline, fear, and motivation, and what it really means to grow. And does that not sound fun? So, hey, I'm Remy. I want to take you on this journey, one we've been on before, but this time a bit different, because today, I just want to know if anyone's checked on History's Strongest Disciple, and if not, let's. Because this one, bro, it's gonna hit you where it hurts in the best kind of way. So, if Kenichi's whole journey is the reason why we're here, we should start off at the real origin, not found in Chapter 1. Well, at least not in the Chapter 1 you might be thinking about. So let's talk about the original version. Before Kenichi was History's Strongest, he used to go by a different name, a much smaller series with a much longer name. Tatake Rozanpak Shinjo Sakaido no Deshi. I'm pretty sure I just butchered that. I'm gonna put the actual word here. If you couldn't guess, Japanese isn't any language I speak, so we're making an effort here. Continuing. This was the original series. The first attempt ran in Shonen Jump Super from 1999 to 2002. It was monthly, it was short, it was rough, and it topped out at over 5 volumes. But thankfully, something clicked for series creator Swin Matsuena. He realized the idea wasn't the problem, it was the execution overall. So instead of quitting like most people would do in that situation, he took what he thought was important, put it back in the oven, and let it cook. And he let that thing bake until he thought it was the perfect time, the perfect recipe, that everything had lined up right, and he took it back out. And what came out was history's strongest disciple. In 2002, he launched this reboot. Now a weekly shonen Sunday, now with weekly pacing, he was given room to expand the fights, the comedy, the training, the villains, basically everything that we know that made this series iconic, all happened because he let this series cook for a little bit longer. And this series didn't run for just 5 volumes, if you don't know somehow. This ran for 61 volumes, 12 years, hundreds of chapters, and way too many jokes about Kenichi's bones breaking, which is a sad reality, but also like high-key kind of funny. But here's the thing people kind of glaze over when it comes to this series. The author Shun didn't just make a fun martial arts manga. I mean, he did, but like, hear me out. The series he came back with this time was one rooted in real-world disciplines. Jujitsu, Kenpo, Karate, Muay Thai, weapons training, all the techniques, all the philosophies, and all the lessons that come with trying to learn these martial arts, he incorporated them into the story. So to some extent, this wasn't just a random shonen choreography where they're just kind of punching and kicking and then calling it a technique. No, these had logic to them. There were techniques, there were meanings. The martial arts weren't just moves. There were our characters' worldviews just happened to be thrown out through fists. Which is kind of funny because, you know, one famous guy, I don't know who he is, he said actions speak louder than words, and well, this series definitely proves it. And in its own really unique, fun way, that's what makes this story's themes hit just a little bit harder. On certain levels, this wasn't your average punch, kick, power-up shonen story. This series had real respect for martial arts. So much so that it became a part of this series' identity. So of course, that means the series creator, who I brought up previously, has got to like martial arts to some extent. So let's talk about him real fast. If this story ever really hit hard for you, it's probably because the author makes it relatable to some extent. Because who hasn't wanted to become stronger? Who hasn't been the underdog? Who hasn't had a moment in their life where they wanted to be more? And it takes a great writer like Shu Matsuena for us to understand that. Because if you hadn't guessed it, this man is not a martial artist. He's a different kind of artist, just one with a pen and pencil rather than your fist. From what I can gather, he was just kind of a regular guy. A bit nerdy, but overall just a regular guy who was good at art. But he was frighteningly accurate when it came to martial arts techniques. And with that interest for martial arts, he studied movement, forms, real-world applications for years before making a single chapter. And in doing so, this series feels overall grounded. Well, you know, not absolutely grounded, it's still shonen, but like, you know. And not to mention the excessive amount of fan service, that's not real. I'm pretty sure martial arts can't do that, but you know, I'm not a martial artist, maybe they can. Maybe MMA's been lying to everybody, they just actually a striptease competition. Yo, maybe that's why they don't wear shirts in the octagon. Yo, did I just find that out? Am I Dinah White? Hello? And aside from me talking out of the side of my neck, obviously, all of his interests combined into this series. The manga, the martial arts, the fan service, all come together to make this really fun passion project of a series that he loves, that we all love. And in my opinion, that's why I always felt this series felt so unique. Because it didn't feel like he was just checking off boxes for a shonen series, it felt like he was putting himself in there. Obviously, I don't think it was a self-insert or anything like that, but I've always felt like he was wearing his heart on his sleeve while he was drawing it, and he was bleeding onto the page every time. And at least to me, that's what makes this series feel super genuine. And I say for me, but at the same time, this series went on for 12 years, so clearly I wasn't the only one liking it. So let's talk about where this series ran for 12 years and what ran alongside of it. So if history's strongest whole story is about grinding your way up from the bottom, then being published in Weekly Shonen Sunday was a perfect place for this series to grow. Starting in April of 2002, Kenichi officially entered the Weekly Shonen arena and stayed there until September of 2014. We were given 12 years of sweat, jokes, broken bones, and way too much fan service, and training arcs that probably violated some form of human rights. But you know what? I wouldn't change a moment of it. I love this series, and so did everybody else reading it at the time. But here's the wild part. Kenichi wasn't running in some quiet, no-name magazine. During his 12-year run, he was competing against some demons, I'm not gonna hold you. We had Detective Conan still dominating the magazine like it owns the place. It's pretty much the One Piece over there. It's been running since 1994 and shows no sign of stopping or aging up its main characters. Which is kind of funny because the first time I read Conan, he was older than me and now I'm older than him. And, you know, that's kind of a weird full circle moment thing there, but regardless, we keep it pushing. But this next one, though, this next one goes crazy. Inuyasha. Yes, Inuyasha. That is correct. I have read the comments. I have made the conscious decision to not say it wrong. You're welcome. Please give me my flowers and like and subscribe because I made this decision that I wasn't bullied into. Okay, now that we're done with that, back to Inuyasha. I said it like that for a joke. Please get the humor. I am not saying it wrong that time on purpose. It was a joke. Okay, bye. While Kenichi was fighting for his life in the dojo, Rumiko Takahashi was out here dropping romances that would define a generation and have us questioning age gaps and grooming allegations. You also had Major. While technically not a shonen fighting series, if Blue Lock has taught me anything, it's a matter of perspective. perspective, because those people in Blue Lock are trying to kill each other over that soccer ball. So you know what? Major could be a shonen battle manga if you wanted to. You also had Katakuri Circus, peak early 2000s supernatural action energy. It was overall kind of trippy, intense, and had very why does this clown want to kill me kind of energy. It also got an anime remake a couple years ago, so if you're interested in that, you can go watch it. I know you can find it on Amazon, so if you want to watch it, go watch it now before they AI dub it and make it horrible. Because Amazon, what even was that? Kakashi was one of those series running around the same time as this series, featuring barrier magic, school life, cake castles, action, brother issues, generational trauma, and a future video on this channel. I love this series so much, and I'm definitely going to cover it at some point. You also have Hayate the Combat Butler, the rom-com king before Kaguya-sama Love is War, and this series started in 2004, and I know it's not still going, but a part of me still believes that it's still going to this day. Like, no lie, this series has lasted longer than almost all of my relationships to this point, which is once again, kind of depressing in a full circle moment. They also had to go up against Mar. Well, you know, if you want to know more about Mar, I have a whole video on it on the YouTube channel. Go check it out. Consume content. Look at content. Here it is. Look at it. Okay. It was even going up against one of my favorite sleeper series, The Law of Ueki, which is also definitely going to get a video at some point, because this series has crazy tournament arcs, insane power systems, and the power of wood or maybe recycling, or maybe both. Either way, this series is super dope, but I feel like it doesn't get its flowers enough, so I'm going to definitely give it a video at some point. So once again, let me double down. This series had to fight some titans of industry to run as long as it did. History's Strongest wasn't just a part of Weekly Shonen Sunday, it helped define it. While Shonen Jump had the big three, Sunday had this crazy line of mystery, comedy, sports, epic supernatural adventures, and martial arts stories, all carving out its own lane in its respective niche. Because Kenichi stood out not by being the strongest, but being the most human, the most grounded, and the one using the most realistic fighting styles. Well, sorta. So to break that down just a bit more, if Kenichi's story is all about growth, positive change, and building strength, then the martial arts in the series can't be fake, right? Well, I'll be the first to inform you, a lot of them actually aren't fake. They're based on real martial arts, meaning a lot of the techniques they use in the show are actually grounded in reality. Well, at least until people's eyes start glowing, and then, you know, But the foundation, that's definitely real though. But the execution is sometimes shown in nonsense. But it's thanks to blending these two aspects to why the series is such a fun read and watch, because you get to see the realistic martial arts with a little bit of shonen nonsense. It's honestly just a fun time. When Kenichi's learning karate, he learns about pure striking, the honor of running the ones, and learning that blocks can be sharp enough to break bones if you do it right. When it comes to jujitsu, he learns about joint locks, throws, and turning your opponent's force against them with physics, and a lot of weird training techniques, like a lot of weird training techniques. When he's learning about Chinese Kenpo, he's learning about Tai Chi, internal power, spiral strikes, and organ blows. Basically, they're teaching this kid how to make somebody's liver fail through a punch. Pretty scary stuff, but also pretty funny. But then we get to Muay Thai, which is just honestly death. That's it, you just die. This fighting style was made to delete people. Knees, elbows, shins. This was a fighting style to inflict pain. Nothing funny here. It's just pain. When it came to karate, he learned about discipline. When it comes to Muay Thai, he learns that him giving you the option to breathe is a thing he can decide. And then you have weapons, which is like cool swords, shields, spears, axes, bunch of ninja stuff. But he's not a ninja, so he doesn't really do a lot of that. He uses a katana every once in a while, but he's got like arm guards, and that's pretty much it. But after all this, by the end of this series, he's just an MMA fighter that has tests on Fridays. But it's really cool to see that throughout the series, they give him like actual insight into the martial arts. They're not just saying, do a punch here, and he just does it right the first time. They explain why the punch works, why you need certain footwork, why you need weight distribution, the philosophy behind said technique. It's just really cool to see them give their martial arts the respect it deserves, and not just saying, here you go, kid, you do karate chop really hard, and now it works. I mean, it's like, all right, sure. I mean, take it from me, right? I love Dragon Ball Z, one of my favorite series of all time. The martial arts in Dragon Ball Z are nothing. I'm sorry, the Turtle School, love Master Roshi, but what did you teach them after Dragon Ball? Like, let's be honest here, bro. They were not doing martial arts after that. They were just doing poses and moving. Like, there's no martial arts training there. In this one, you get to see the martial arts, and it's really cool. But to be fair, this is still a shonen series, so here comes the whole, like, it's only grounded to some extent, because the moment people's eyes start glowing, you know, something really cool but also really stupid's about to happen. Because glowing eyes in this series is an indication of master rank or master level fighters, and that just means you can pretty much do whatever to some extent. You can dodge bullets? Sure, why not? Your eyes are glowing. You can also punch air? Sure, why not? Your eyes are glowing. Can you destroy pillars like they're made out of dry Play-Doh? Why not? Your eyes are glowing. You have that ability. You are a master. Do physics become an option the moment your eyes start glowing? Yes. Yes, they do. But you know what? Who honestly cares? As anal as I want to be about something like this, it doesn't help the series and it doesn't hurt it either that the master rank people can just kind of do crazy stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, if they started flying in one chapter, then I'd have an issue with it. But like, for the most part, they're just like, we're super quote unquote human, but still human at the end of the day, because everything we do is technically based in martial arts. Even if it is kind of like, yes, this is the master of Chinese Kenpo who can somehow punch the water so hard that it shoots out a water bullet. You know what? You got it, buddy. I'm not even mad at it. I'm kind of mad at it, but it was really cool, so I'm gonna let it slide. Because like I said, the techniques stay real, the philosophies stay intact, the nonsense is built up so people can enjoy it, but overall, it's still, at its core, a martial arts series grounded with semi-realistic martial arts. And I've talked a lot about martial arts, so let me actually talk about the masters that use them and some of the organizations they align with. So if there's one thing History's Strongest Disciple wants to drive home to you, is that the martial art world is some serious business. Like, so serious every major conflict is basically, step 1, introduce a new organization. Step 2, reveal that this new organization has always been stronger than the last one that just showed up. Step 3, have them immediately pick a fight with the teenagers for some reason. And then step 4, the senseis show up, save the teenagers, and then like someone learns a lesson or something. I know that sounds bad, but you can't tell me I'm wrong because that is literally like most of the arcs. And by the time you kind of draw that connection, the One Shadow Nine Fist organization shows up and you're like, you know what? This tracks. I'm not even mad at it at this point. I just like seeing people punch each other. It also doesn't hurt that I'm also super invested in the main cast at this point. You've got our MC Kenichi, our boy, our underdog, our punching bag. Kenichi starts off as weak, bully, and struggling, like I mentioned earlier, and then he joins the dojo and, insert name drop, becomes History's Strongest Disciple. And my boy locks in and becomes one of the best fighters in the entire series, which you love to see from start to finish. Next up, we have Miyu, the female lead of the series. She's a combat prodigy, she's strong, she's kind, she's basically the physical embodiment of, hey, don't make me sad, because if you do, the 5 people standing behind me with glowing eyes will make your life awful. And she's the granddaughter of Hayato, so low-key, high-key, she's genetically required to be cracked at fighting. And now for the masters of the dojo. The dojo is pretty much if the Avengers were unemployed but also really unhinged and training the next generation. And it never heard of HR and taught life lessons through violent encounters. First up, we have the invincible grandfather, Hayato. Too strong, too powerful, too ripped, and should be Mbaki. Pretty much, if you're related to him, you might not actually be a full-blooded human. You might be like part Wolverine or something. This man is a monster. And then you have Akisame, the philosopher of the group, who's also a jujutsu master, who trains Kenichi physically and emotionally, whether Kenichi wants it or not. Consent is an option here, except people forgot to tell Kenichi he has that option. Up next, we have Shio, the karate master fueled by ramen, fighting, and probably a good pint of beer. In my opinion, out of all the masters, he's probably the most normal, so I like him for that reason. And then we have Kinsei, who was probably my favorite master back when I was younger, just because Chinese Kenpo looked mad cool when he was doing it. But over time, I've kind of learned to like him a little bit less, because in hindsight, he was doing a lot of weird stuff to teenagers that, like, I feel like he should be on a list, dog, you know what I mean? But if we ignore that, which we shouldn't, but if we do, he was cold with it. Up next, we have my boy Apachai. Is the nicest guy in the series, but at the same time, he has a problem deleting people when they fight. So, like, you take the good and the bad when it comes to him. And finally, out of the masters, we have Shigure, the soft-spoken weapon master, who's so skilled with it, she can turn a ladle into a deadly weapon if she so chooses. I never really hated her character personally, but I also, like, never really cared for it also. For me personally, she never showed enough of a personality for me to become attached to her character. She was mostly just for fan service, and high school me was cool with it. Adult me nowadays is kind of like, yo man, like, can we have some agency besides every like 50 chapters where she has an arc randomly? I just feel like she should have had a bigger personality, considering everybody else in the series, masters wise, have these bombastic personalities, and she was just super reserved, which I kind of hated. I hate's a strong word. I just didn't like it. Hey everybody, this is Editing Remy. Just want to make a little note here. So at this point in the video, you're about to notice why my voice sounds mad different. So during the recording of this, actually, I lost my voice for like a solid 3 days. It was really bad. Like, during the recording of this, my voice just kind of started getting cracky. Not cracky, but just kind of like weird. If you couldn't tell prior to this, it was really bad. So at this point, I actually was going to cut the video in 2 parts and just come back like the week after next, and because my voice was just completely shot. But thankfully, sleeping it off and a ton of tea helped it come back. Clearly, my voice is back now. This is me, obviously, in real time. Here's a picture of me drinking tea that I currently am doing while I'm editing this. But like, yeah, so my voice was shot for like 3-4 days practically. It came back and I decided, you know what, I don't want to make this a 2-part video because I said I was going to get all 4 videos out this month. GTO was next. I didn't want to push that back. So it's like, you know what, lock in, shut up, get it done, just record. And don't get me wrong, it didn't feel great. Full disclosure, it did not feel great to record. Boy was going through it. But, you know, we got it done. Videos coming out. So once again, hopefully this isn't too rough for y'all to hear. Because I made a note of it at the end of my recording, explaining why my voice is kind of out. But now that I'm listening to it back while I'm editing it, I'm like, ooh, it's kind of rough. So let me add like one more note. So this is the one more note. So yeah, voice is normal again. Just this part is a little rough. So I just want to give a little context. Okay, that's it. Once again, my bad. I'm feeling great now. Like I said, I've been drinking tea, taking medicine. I'm solid. Just my voice was horrible for like 3 days and it's just rough. So yeah, that's it. Okay, bye. But together they represent the life-saving fist. You know, the martial art philosophy about saying we don't kill people right before they send Kenichi to spar with someone who absolutely does kill people. But okay, with our main good guys done and dusted, let's talk about the other factions in the series. First, you have Ragnarok, the first big antagonist group of the series. They're basically, what if the entire student body of your high school suddenly trained like they were trying to be in the UFC? And at first, that kind of sucks, but eventually, they all kind of joined Kenichi's side after a while, so that's pretty cool. Also, my goat, Hermit, was in this group, and Hermit is easily one of the coolest characters in the series, in my opinion. Then we can talk about Yami, and this is where things start to escalate. No longer are we just dealing with high schoolers, now we're dealing with things on the international level. Yami is a global martial art murder organization following the Killing Fist. Very straightforward with that name. Their whole business model is start a super war somehow equals money. And you know what? I gotta wonder, when you start said super war, how do you profit from that if you're just selling martial arts? Like, you're not selling weapons, you're just punching. I get it, martial art masters in this series can do crazy things, but at the same time, I think a nuke would beat a punch. That's just me though. That's just me though. Clearly, I'm thinking too hard. I just need to enjoy people with glowing eyes do crazy martial arts. And while the masters are dealing with Yami, the disciples are dealing with Yomi. And they're Yami's younger generation of killers. Yes, it's more kids fighting kids, and it's at this point in the series you kind of realize that the adults / the masters in this series treat the disciples like Pokemon, so they always have to fight each other. Except this time, the Pokemon in this series get PTSD from being beaten up. But you know, like, don't think too hard about that. And finally, you have the One Shadow 9 Fist, the elite council running Yami's unarmed division. Just when you think, surely, this must be the final boss organization in the series, but no. If Kenichi has taught you anything, is that crime is like a Russian nesting doll. There's always another layer. For some reason. Does it matter why? And no, it doesn't. But there's always another one in there. There's always somebody else. Okay, so I had trouble trying to summarize this entire story in this little segment that I like to do in these videos about the story and the lore of the series, because there's a lot to this series, and I didn't want to make this section more than 10 minutes. But man, there's just so much content for this story that it deserves its own dedicated video. And truth be told, I'm not finna do that. I'm sure there's a million YouTube channels that have gone over the entire history of the series. So instead, I'm gonna summarize it like this to the best of my abilities. So here it goes. When it comes to the story of Kenichi, it's basically the story of anyone who's ever wanted to improve themselves, told through escalating violence. Kenichi starts off as a bullied kid, then he discovers a dojo, learns martial arts, becomes a disciple, but then he faces Ragnarok, then he faces Yomi, and throughout the course of all that, we see him struggle, we see him improve, and each arc builds on the previous one. But here's a subtle trick that they do throughout the series. There's no one moment where Kenichi just becomes strong. And hear me out before you start booing me in the comments. You realize by the end of this journey, there wasn't just a strength switch that he flipped one day after getting punched in a tournament or during a 1v1. He didn't just instantly get a power-up. Throughout the course of all this, you realize the point of this story is that the journey never ends. It's a lifestyle change that he made for himself to become better, and you see that growth throughout the course of the series. And Kenichi, being the least likely shonen protagonist, is a perfect vessel for this kind of story. Because he's the underdog, because he's the one who's overlooked, because he's the one without the special X gene, he becomes the everyman. Granted, obviously shonen laws and physics, and obviously his bones will be broken every once in a while, but at the same time, he still proves that the underdog can become better than everyone else if he puts in the work. And that's why he's so relatable and probably so beloved by so many people, because you get to see yourself in this kid, because you get to see someone start from the bottom and only go upwards. And it's a really cool climb. That's why the series, I think, is so good, and why I feel like I couldn't do the series justice going over the story if I just went plot beat by plot beat in this little section of my video. So I feel like if I ever wanted to do like a full deep dive into the story, I'd have to give it a dedicated video, not like a franchise retrospective like I've been doing. Because this story doesn't deserve to be done dirty like that, mostly because it's already been done dirty by its anime. Because if Kenichi's all about long-term growth, the anime ending early hurts us all for the right reasons. The anime premiered in 2006 and covered the early arcs. It was faithful, fun, and surprisingly well produced, and it helped solidify a growing fan base. But due to late night airing and scheduling problems and the audience demographic not being the target demo, all these factors hit the production like a steel toe roundhouse kick to the ribs. And not to mention, but to totally mention, the show wasn't doing the best when it came to making its money back through DVD and figure sales and manga sales at the time. And so momentum slowed down for the anime, and the series ended with no second season. And that left fans devastated for a long time, but thankfully, in the year 2012 and 2014, we got some OVAs. And that proved that there's still gas in the tank when it came to the series. It just needed the right people behind it to push it forward, because clearly Kenichi's got some fans. And to talk about the fans, we gotta talk about the reception to the series and the overall sales. So why did Kenichi work so well? In my opinion, the magic behind History's Strongest Disciple is its dedication to the game. It might not have hit One Piece, Naruto, or Bleach levels of numbers, but make no mistake, this series carved out its own place in a strong way. Due to its loyal fan base, it became one of Weekly Shonen Sunday's most dependable series during its 12-year run. I mean, think about it, right? From the very beginning, Kenichi built his reputation on being very consistent. Readers stuck around because they knew what the series was going to deliver, and it did so as promised. It told you it was going to be about martial arts, it gave you martial arts, it gave you choreography, it gave you real arts and techniques, and a little bit of fan service. They kind of said they were going to do that, and they did it. This series gave you what it said it was, and it had no problems with it. For our martial arts head, it gave you intense battles and realistic breakdown of different fighting techniques. For people that like the characters, it gave you a mixture of cool action moments and personal moments with our characters throughout the entire series. And on the fan service elements, it definitely gave you that. I'm not even gonna pretend like it didn't. It was a lot. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't no High School of the Dead or High School DxD, but it was still a decent amount of fan service. But I will say this, as much as I like this series, the ending was definitely divisive. Well, at least to my knowledge around the time. Because I knew the people I watched on YouTube talking about it, or the people I saw on like Reddit talking about it, they were going at it like, no, I hated this ending. Other people were like, oh, I really like this ending. It was a bunch of back and forth. So me personally, I'm on the part that was kind of like, the ending was kind of meh. I did like the end when we saw him as an adult. That was pretty cool. But besides from that, it was definitely kind of meh for me personally. But we should talk about the sales numbers, right? And granted, a lot of this is old data, but by 2012, apparently over 12 million copies were in circulation, which is no small feat. Granted, it's no Naruto, Bleach, One Piece numbers, but by no means is that a small number. So yeah, for Weekly Shonen Sunday's lineup, it was a consistent, reliable hit. It contributed to the manga's diverse identity back in the early 2000s, standing shoulder to shoulder with giants like Detective Conan, Inuyasha, and other big series at the time. And for a story about a kid who just wanted to stop being bullied to becoming one of Shonen Sunday's longest / biggest running series is honestly a pretty cool legacy. So if you got this far in the video, thank you once again. But I did say I was going to talk about more than him just getting strong at the beginning of this video, so let me finally pay that off. So at first glance, this series looks like your standard martial arts shonen story, right? Boy gets bullied, boy gets jacked, boy learns how to fight, and then boy starts fighting people that should be on a government watch list, and rinse and repeat. But underneath all the suplexes, the martial arts, and the comically unsafe training regiments, the series is actually built on a lot of core themes that hit way harder than any of Kenichi's early punches. So up first we have the underdog blueprint. I keep saying this, but I want to really drive this point home. Kenichi does not start off special. He's not gifted, he's not a secret prodigy, he's not the next chosen one, unless you mean that he was chosen by 6 sadistic masters. Besides from that, he's just a guy, and that's the point. The series makes it very clear that effort is the real superpower. Kenichi gets stronger because he keeps showing up every day consistently, even when the training looks like something the Geneva Convention would look at kind of sideways. But if you ignore all that, if you ignore all the weird training, the broken bones, and probably the dangerous mission they send this high schooler on, the lesson you walk away with is, if you're willing to put in the work, you could become someone even your bullies don't push around. Another cool theme found in the show is what you do with power matters. If you break the show down to its base / core elements, the entire story revolves around the killing fist and the not killing fist. One uses strength to protect, the other uses strength to destroy. And these two ideologies, these two dojos, these two fighting master groups are all using these to fight for dominance. Because when the dust settles after their conflict, whatever group is remaining gets to determine what the future meaning of strength itself is. And for our MC Kenichi, his whole journey is learning what real power is and what it isn't. It's about being responsible, not about being unstoppable. It's about choosing not to break someone's arm just because you can. Because what's power without morality? You're just an animal. And also you get world-ending conspiracy theory groups that revolve around martial arts, which once again is kind of like the most questionable thing, but you know what? I'm not here to question that. I'm here to enjoy it. There's other core things I could go really in-depth into, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to bore you. So I'm going to rapid fire real fast. You have the power of friendship, and I get it, that's corny, but hear me out. A lot of the series revolves around Kenichi and his friends doing crazy things that they shouldn't do, but they stand up, they keep getting back up due to the power of friendship. You also have standing up to your fears, which, once again, really corny, I get it, but at the same time, you be a 16-year-old, deal with half of them things. I couldn't, me at 16, couldn't even drive a car yet. But you want me to go fight a martial arts on a global stage that has geopolitical implications behind this fight? Absolutely not. And yet our main character did that, and that's very impressive and honestly kind of respectable. So but what does this all add up to, right? In the end, History's Strongest Disciple isn't just about martial arts, like I keep saying. It's a story about belief in effort, a belief in integrity, a belief in choosing the right path, even when the wrong one is just easier. And the biggest takeaway is anyone can change. Anyone can grow, anyone can become stronger, maybe not jump off a building with glowing eyes level stronger, but you know what I mean, emotionally, mentally, in any other way they want to. And the way Kenichi does it, he just does it with broken bones and screaming, which is very depressing, but also kind of endearing. So yeah, we're at the end. And at the end of the road, the origins, the martial arts, the madness of all these shadow organizations, recruiting teenagers like the world's worst after-school program, History's Strongest Disciple, I think, leaves you with one message. You don't have to be a superhuman to be strong. You just need the strength to give yourself time. Time to grow, time to fail, time to become the version of yourself you always hoped you could be. Because Kenichi didn't start off special. He wasn't born with monster talent. He didn't wake up one day and say, yeah, I think I'm going to master 6 martial arts simultaneously, then become a leader of an alliance, and then get thrown into a martial arts civil war about killing people and not killing people. But what he did say, he said he wanted to make a change. And he standed 10 toes down on that. Even when the odds were stacked against him, even when his enemies kept getting stronger every other arc, even when everything looked like it was going to go to pot, he didn't give up. He stayed true to his convictions and he kept going. And look, you don't have to do what Kenichi did. I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. Nobody's asking you to get launched off a cliff. Nobody's asking you to learn the drunken fist. Nobody's asking you to fight a weapon master with a katana and a ladle and a mouse. All I'm asking you to do is to watch this. And I don't even mean this video. If you got this far, once again, thank you, but I mean the series. If you haven't picked up Kenichi in years, or YouTube's algorithm is just doing what it does and you happen to find this video, maybe go look at this series. Because obviously I don't want you to go through anything I just mentioned, but we did get to see someone go through it, and all those experiences made him come out stronger for it, but he also came out as a nicer and a more confident person than when he started. And that is honestly inspiring. No, better yet, that's actually hopeful. That's a reminder that growth doesn't require greatness, it requires patience. So if Kenichi can survive that insanity and still stand tall, then you can take whatever your next step is, be it big or small, just make it yours. And that is a lesson I feel like the series honestly leaves you with. At the end of the day, when you read the entire 300 plus chapter series or you watch the anime, I hope you take that message from this, or at least that's what it left me with. And I hope it left you with that same feeling. And honestly, I'm pretty sure that's enough to make anyone want to keep fighting for their better self. So, hey, I'm Remy. Thanks for letting me check out History's Strongest Disciple. Hope this overview did it justice. Like and subscribe and all of the fun stuff I actually do in every other video. It means so much if you do. And hey, don't forget to have a wonderful day. But that's it for me. I'll see y'all in the next video. Y'all be easy. Later. Bye. Okay, so in the video, if you couldn't tell, during the recording of this, I literally lost my voice for like a couple days. So this is like the first day my voice doesn't sound like gargling rocks and sand. So I had to knock this out because I didn't want to like throw off the schedule. So it's cool. We're feeling better. But man, this is like the first time I've ever, I think, not ever, but like this is the first time in a long time I've lost my voice, and it was so hard to talk. Like you can tell that the course of this recording, my voice kind of like goes in and out. I'm not gonna pinpoint where, but if you can't tell, let me know in the comments. It's kind of funny. But yeah, once again, I really like Kenichi. I think this is a really fun series. I'm sorry to take this on to do it because I was trying to figure out how I wanted to cover the story and the lore part, but it's just so much, and like I can't condense that into like a cool 3-4 minute section. So I'm like, I gotta figure out something. But yeah, no, this is a really good series, and it deserves its flowers. And I'm so happy that people asked for this and they like it. So thanks for watching it if you did. Also, I have a Discord now. We made a community Discord. If you want to join it, link's gonna be in the description here. But yeah, join it, talk with the community, make some friends, talk about cool stuff, maybe leave a video suggestion. I might look at that or whatever. But yeah, it's just a way for me to communicate with you guys on a cooler level. Because it's like, it's the end of the year. We're about to hit 7,000 subs. Like, let me just like lock in with the community a little bit. So that's it. I guess it's kind of like a Christmas present also. And, you know, we might do watch parties in there, or I don't know. I never made a public Discord before, so we'll figure it out as we go. So if it's not perfect yet, it'll be there eventually. But, oh, okay, that's the end of this video. Once again, guys, thanks for watching this video. If you do, I appreciate it so much. I know by the time this comes out, I think we have like a week before Christmas. So if I don't upload next week, which I still should, but if I don't, Merry freaking Christmas. You guys are so great. The best gift this year has been all 6,000 something of you guys. It's crazy. You guys are awesome. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Like, honestly, I do. The haters, the likes, peoples, just anyone that really rocks through the content, I'm so appreciative for. So, you know, it is what it is. Once again, thanks for watching this video. I'm just rambling now. You guys be easy. I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.